start? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Parish Council meeting for April. We have some speakers who wish to address us. Briefly, first.
Two speakers.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine, yeah. You want to go first?
Hmm?
Do you want
Okay, let's come a little more centrally.
to...
Yes, I won't take long on it, but I'm a little bit worried about what I see as a reasonably important historical point of in the village, which is a tap, oddly enough. But it is the tap that is outside John Major's, John Harper's house. No, Major. John Harper's house. And it is actually of significance because, first of all, East Brent actually had some dams put on a stream which was going down the hill so that water could be taken down to Reverend Dennison's house of vicarage, and he could get it upstairs. And they also dammed the stream so that it could be used for villagers as well. And there was a tap put on what was then the village green, which is now where the church offices are. Then the Reverend Northcote, who lived in Somerset Court, actually wanted to do something similar here, and so what he did was slightly more ambitious in some ways, because to get the height he had to take something from the knoll, and in fact there is a place which is still there up at the back of the manor house in the woods up there behind there, and it's now been concreted, or it was concreted in, but it was a pool beforehand anyway, and he took a pipe from there all the way along to Somerset Court so that he could get his water upstairs. But at the same time, he put a couple of taps and a horse trough in the village for the locals. And the reason that it had been done in East Brent was because they'd had some drought years, and people had really suffered from there, sometimes actually going down into the reeds and just getting water out of the reeds and so on, which hadn't got much in it anyway, and so on. And this, the taps put in the village here were to alleviate the problems here as well in the same sort of way. Now, we've already lost one of those taps. It happened to be my next door neighbour, and unfortunately it disappeared sometime when I was away. But and the horse trough, as far as I know, has disappeared as well. So that leaves this tap as something is the only reminder of something which in the 19th century, the end of the 19th century, was put in the village to help villagers in times of drought and such like. So it does seem to me to be a fairly auspicious sort of thing. Trouble is that the bricking round it is now getting a bit decayed, and I'm worried that in fact it won't last too long. So I was hoping that I could bring it in front of you, and that you might be interested in having a look at it and seeing if something could be done to restore that. If so, I'm happy to put an article in the Brent Knoll News about it, and obviously we could put some little something up there, a sign up there to say what it was for those in the future who want to know about it as well.
Thank you, John.
I don't know
Well worth considering.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
John, I'll tell you what you could do for me. Could you just send us a little brief summary, 2 or 3 lines, just a summary, so I know what to put on the next agenda. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, the restoration of a water feature,
Right.
which was placed there to help to alleviate problems in times of drought.
the 19th century.
In the 19th century, yes.
Yeah.
I looked at that and wondered why it was there.
Okay,
Yeah,
Good.
it really does need repointing quite badly, but yeah, it's just...
It wants repointing quite nicely, not badly. Okay, is that...
Thank you, John. We'll take that on board
Thanks,
and
John.
consider that.
Thank you
Put it
very
on our
much.
next agenda.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm here to introduce myself and the RSPCA that some of you may know we are down the road and some of you may not, but just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what we actually do at the Animal Centre. I think there's this kind of understanding that, you know, you see the RSPCA logo and we're a big national charity and we've got pots of money everywhere, and unfortunately that's not true. So how we work is we're actually a separately registered charity. We are a separate branch. We work on our own and completely rely on the community around us in North Somerset to fund the Animal Centre. The way we work with the national branch, so your RSPCA National is the guys you see on the TV with the lovely adverts and things like that. So they fund the inspectors that are all over the country, and we work with the inspectors. So if an inspector is sent out anywhere across North Somerset and they rescue an animal, they will then contact us and ask us if we have space for that animal, and then the journey for the animal then starts with us at the Animal Centre. So if the animal has been abused or mistreated, we then have to rehabilitate, and the aim is that we send them off to their forever home. Sometimes it takes a lot longer than others because it may be that the owners are being prosecuted and therefore they cannot be rehomed. So their stay with us can be a long time. So we rely on our volunteers who can foster for us, so they can take the animals home with them and care for them while the cases are going on. So we're a very small team. Obviously we've got the animal care assistants, then we have 4 shops in the region, each has a manager and the rest are volunteers. And you know, if I was to say that we perhaps have 4 volunteers to 1 paid member of staff, you know, so without them we really couldn't run the organisation. And without our fundraisers and, you know, people who leave money in their wills for us, you know, we just wouldn't survive really. But there are over, at the last count it was just over 150 branches that are across the UK, and there's quite a few down Somerset, Devon, Cornwall way, so we're quite well off down here for branches, but not all branches have an animal centre. Some may just have shops, and on the animal welfare side of things, where we try and educate children to, you know, care for their pets, look after animals, we are also finding, especially now, with the bills going up and up and up, people approach us and ask us to help them with their vet fees. So, you know, our kind of understanding of that is if we can help them with vet fees, that will stop them dumping the animals up at our gates. You know, we've all experienced coming to work every morning, going to the gates to open the gates, and there's a cat box there, or there's a dog tied to the railings. You know, it's just sad. It just, you know, you think, oh, we're getting better and better in educating people, but then something like this happens with the cost of living, and people just will give up their pets, I'm afraid, to be able to feed their own families and things. Some do it in a nice way, but others just tend to leave them on the roadside and such like, you know. So that's what we're there for, really. We intake animals, but we haven't got the the staff there, like the inspectors who go out to places, so that people would ring the national helpline, and then one of the inspectors would go out if there's a case of an animal being mistreated, and they can either, what they first of all have to do is talk to the owners, and then if they feel that they need to remove the animals, they then have to get the police involved, and the police will go in with them to remove the animals. So it is, it's hard sometimes, but at least we know when the animals arrive with us that they're safe, they'll be looked after, they'll be fed, they'll be watered, and it's the way we work. The cost doesn't kind of run through our heads, but when the trustees sit down and say, actually, this is how much it's costing, at the moment it's costing us an average of £1,200 a day to keep the centre running. So that money comes from our shops, raising money for us, the community raising money, and we also put on our own events as well. But obviously over the next 12-18 months, those costs are going to start sky high, really. And we are very fortunate being here. I mean, it's a lovely area. We've got a lovely open space for the dogs. We can, so we've got our, this year so far, from January to March, we've rehomed 37 cats and 8 dogs. And the reason the dogs are, there's a lot more work behind dogs. They're normally the case animals, and they have to stay with us a lot longer. And we can accommodate up to 63 dogs, 44 cats. And again, that's a case of the staff levels we have at the moment of what we can afford. So the more staff we would be able to afford, the more animals we can intake then. So really this was just an introduction to who we are, where we are. I've got some leaflets there and a couple of bits there of what we've got going on over the next couple of weeks. We're just running a competition at the moment, and then you may have seen our pop-up shops that we have occasionally in the summer. So that's people, because we used to have a shop in Burnham and people still donate to the animal centre. So we have a sort out and we open up for a few hours on a Saturday and Sunday and try and sell off all the donated goods, really. So that's us. But really appreciate you giving me this time this evening. And if there's anything you want to know, anything I might be able to answer for you or help with at all.
Would you like those on notice boards in the village? Those 2 flyers you've got there? Would you like those to go on notice boards?
That would be amazing. Yes, thank you.
Try and squeeze it on
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You've got a space for 5 of those, I think. Yes.
So if I just commit just 30 seconds, the reason this good lady is here probably is because of myself. I had good reason to use the services of the RSPCA when my precious little 17-year-old black cat did a bunk and vanished and scared us all to half to death. I was unaware, first of all, that it was in Brent Knoll. I always assumed driving past that it was in Barrow and nothing to do with us, even though you sit on the border probably. But spoke to the girls down there, and I think if there was anything that this council and people who work around this council could do to assist, I think it'd be nice to know that you guys are on the radar. You do, in my opinion, you do a really great job. You did a great job, certainly in my situation. I think you even said, raising money for charity was a good thing for you, and raising money in the village. And there are some people around this table that obviously are involved in some of the clubs and halls, etc. Here. So, yeah, it's nice to know what you do. Obviously, you're an asset to Brent Knoll, which I didn't realise. And thank you for myself anyway.
Yeah.
Sally, out of the animals that you've got there, how many did you put down a week? How many's put down a week?
I wouldn't say a week at
or
all.
A month or
it's very rare. It's very rare because we have a specialist animal behaviourist.
Yeah.
So take for instance, last year we had a dog that came in that no one could get near, literally couldn't even put the food into the kennel. So the behaviourist had to work to get to that level, and to say he was bitten on ankles, bitten on legs, bitten on arms, and at first you know, you think to yourself, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to rehome this dog. But he persevered, animal behaviourist, and got him to the point where we rehomed him. But we very rarely put animals to sleep, very rare. I would say, I could probably get you figures. Where are we now? April. I've only heard of one this year.
At your depot, isn't it? Your
At
base.
the branch,
Your
yeah,
branch.
yeah. But we work our absolute best to keep those animals alive. And we work very closely with the vets in Burnham. They did actually sit on our trustee committee, but they had to give that up again because they got so busy with people with their animals. But every Wednesday they will come and assess each of the cats, dogs, rabbits. That's kind of what we can take in at the moment.
Just one, thank you for that.
Yeah.
One other one, I got a sofa. It's less than a year old. I come up there the other day because I'm going to live down the road from you.
Yeah.
And the girls turned around and said, oh, if it's 2 chairs, we don't want them. But if it's a sofa, we might better put it in conservatories. And I said, look, it doesn't matter whether it's a sofa or 2 chairs.
Right.
The dogs will love it. Because that's
Yeah.
what, you know. But in the end, they said no.
Right. Okay.
And I said, right, okay, fair enough. I just walked away.
Yeah.
You know, really, they should have jumped at it and said, thank you very much.
I agree. Yeah.
So I
yeah.
got really annoyed with it, the way they were speaking to me when I was at reception there. So I just
Right.
walked out in the end. But
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about
no,
that.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I was going to donate it to you. But,
Yeah.
you know, in the end, it's going to the Heart Foundation now. So.
Well, at
Sorry.
least it's gone to a good cause, so no, that's
Yeah.
the main thing. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for
I mean,
that.
we do have to be careful about things we're taking because there's a tendency for dogs to chew everything and.
But that's what they're meant for.
Yeah,
To enjoy it.
yeah. Yeah, but we, I mean, it's just health and safety gone mad, even with animals now, you know, as to what we can put into the kennels, with whether they chew it, whether they swallow it, or whatever it may be. You know, we do have to be really careful. So, I mean, we have to take all the squeakers out of the toys first before we can hand those over. But yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just a more comment than a question. Wearing a different hat, I edit the Village magazine. Now, years ago, you used to send stuff to me about events that were coming up. That hasn't happened for the last few years. So,
That's probably because they've had no one to do it.
okay, so if you can, I mean, if you want stuff
That'd be
publicised in the
amazing,
village,
yeah,
as long as
yeah.
you get it to us the sort of month before the event
Yeah.
that's going to happen, then
Yeah.
we can maybe get something in.
Could you email me so I've got
Yeah.
your details
No
if I
problem.
pass that down and then I can liaise with you? That's brilliant. No, that's exactly what we're looking for. I mean, I've been with this branch now for about 18 months. It's originally I was up in the Midlands at the Coventry branch. Very different to this one, completely different. But you know, it's kind of, we're looking for the community to help us spread the word, and I think more so even that we are a standalone charity and not part of national. That's something that people can't quite get their heads around really. So I'm trying to pick that up for them and get out and do talks to schools and, you know, talking about looking after your animals and also what we do at the animal centre. So that would be fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
Luna.
And being that you are standalone, have you ever considered dropping the RSPCA tag? Because the RSPCA don't really have that good a reputation anymore, do they?
No, there's quite a few of the branches that have done that. They kind of keep the RSPCA a little bit. And the reason we do that is because we get, you kind of have to keep that link with national, more so for things like legacies. They did used to fundraise for us with the door-to-door, so national would do door-to-door, and any money that they picked up in our postcode region would come to us.
Right.
And the same happens with legacies. But I would say if anyone left a legacy here for us in North Somerset and they just left it to the RSPCA, it automatically goes to national. So there may be some that think it comes to ours, but unless you actually put North Somerset branch, the RSPCA national.
Have you got a separate legacy number, charity number?
We have, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
it's all on
important.
that.
We've got
Yeah.
the charging number on there, then it'll definitely go to the right
So that's
person.
one of the things I'm just looking at now, is to make sure we have a legacy leaflet that actually states who to leave it to and things
Yeah,
like
because
that.
I wouldn't leave or give money to the RSPCA, but
Yeah.
I mean, given that you're standalone,
Yeah,
I would happily donate.
yeah, and it's a strange. I mean, I still struggle a little bit with how we work with National. So we do have what they call a branch specialist officer, who is the interim between us and National. So she will come and talk to us occasionally at trustee meetings and things like that. But they do offer some support. They don't do door to door anymore, but sometimes they'll say you can apply for funding. So we use them as like a grant type of organisation. So say for instance, and this has, I mean we won't benefit from this, but they want to start working with the local food banks and things. So we had to apply to them for money, which we received. We did get it, but then we have to go out and buy items for the food bank. We don't actually get anything from it. But say for instance now, the animal centre does need a bit of a tidy up and a revamp after the lockdown and things like that. Everything's suddenly got a bit, you know, we open gates that fall on us and things like that. So we're just having all that work done. But you know, if we can apply to National to help us with money, but at the moment I'm just trying for some local grants. We've just contacted Thatcher's to see if they might help us, but you know, we're just trying to get some local support behind us really to help us out. So, but yeah, it was looking a little bit run down, and it was a bit of a health and safety hazard that we'd open these big double gates and they just literally fell. So we have got the doing some fencing and everything, and of course we have to have fencing for the animals. I mean, there's just no question about that. So, but yes, it is. I still kind of think, oh God, how does this relationship work? I mean, when I was at the Coventry branch, I did apply to them because we needed new kennel flooring. So I approached National, and they did come forward. You know, they did give us a good bulk of money for that. So they've kind of, you know, their expenses are paying for all the inspectors across the UK, but they will support branches as best they can, but not always monetary. You know, it might be advice. You know, they'll give you templates for things, and you know, it's quite a strange relationship. But you know, we are standalone, and we do have our own registered charity number. So yeah, it's the trustees who make the decisions for us.
Oh, my God.
Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Does anybody else want to say anything that's walked in since we put the names of people? Does anybody else want to do it? No. Okay.
I'll leave you to it. I'll leave you those bits. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Sorry,
Thank you very much. Take
Thank you,
care.
John.
Bye.
Thank you.
We have recently learned of the passing of one of our previous members of Brent Knoll Parish Council, and that was Maurice Jackson. He was a parish councillor for many years, and he was chairman as well. And would you please stand and have 1 minute silence in respect of his passing? Thank you.
Yeah, just to let people know, if they were, Morris's funeral is actually on Maundy Thursday, so, yeah. And then I think there's a wake down at the Fox and Goose afterwards.
Thank you. We now come on to the meeting proper, and are there any apologies?
Apologies only from Colin Townsend, who's apparently golfing in the United States. Is that right, Sarah? Somewhere in that part of the world. Yeah.
Do you accept those apologies? Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest?
Can I do other registered interest, which is for Somerset Council now, and also for the parish hall if that comes up today, and just a reminder of the special dispensation in terms of the shop.
Okay.
Shares in the shop.
Tracy. That's it, okay?
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, myself. Brent Knoll Parish, which everybody knows about, and then there's an item today on Forge Green allotment, which I am a committee member. Seek guidance if you wish to do anything or not.
Okay.
The minutes of the meeting 15th of March and the 1st of March have been circulated, and having read those, do you wish me to sign those as a true record of those meetings? Please indicate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next item is planning. 07/23 0008 Pollard Weeping Willow at 6 The Willows.
Exactly that. There's a location plan, and it's to prune it back to the previous points.
Are there any comments at all?
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Do you wish to accept that?
What are you going to do? Are you going to support it? No observations?
No observations.
No observations.
Thank you.
No observations? No.
Done.
Done. No observations.
Now come on to community shop matters. And the first item on that item is the National Grid Survey Report.
Has anybody got any
Yeah,
announcements to
so,
make on
yeah, I'd like to make a proposal on this, that this is withdrawn.
Sorry,
That the proposal is withdrawn on, are we doing evaluation, or are we
that?
doing?
No, we're doing National Grid actually.
National Grid,
John,
yeah. So I'd like to request that the proposal is removed. In my opinion, the proposal is too vague and ambiguous in its phrasing. The average person parishioner will be unaware of the full implications of this proposal and its knock-on effect on the transfer and disposal of parish land and subsequent access rights to said land. These are major changes and material differences to the project discussed and consulted upon in 2022. And the sale of land and access rights tie the hands of both ours and future generations, potentially sterilising the land and the land around from any future development, shop or otherwise. In addition, there are also knock-on effects to both off-street and on-street parking in the village. I feel the full impact